What's going on, everybody? You're listening to Sports and That. I'm Tyler, joined as always by my boys Chance
Yo.
and Lucas.
Yo.
And we're back. Divisional NFL playoff round just happened. It's Monday. We're recording on a Monday. Live reactions. We're going to go through all four games. Great weekend of football this weekend. Great weekend. First, we're starting with Rams at Packers. I think the Packers are a wagon. I'm officially saying it. They're a wagon.
Yeah, I'm going to agree. Aaron Rodgers, obviously league MVP this year, continuing that trend into postseason. Doesn't look like there's any rust on him after the first round bye. He just came lights out against the supposed number one defense in the NFL. Obviously, Aaron Donald was a little banged up in this game, didn't play a whole lot, but that didn't matter. I don't think he would have made much.
And they couldn't stop Aaron Jones either. He had almost 100 rushing yards.
Yeah,
Dominant.
Now, I don't want to pull up the tape quite yet, but I think I did say that Aaron Jones and the running backs were going to be a beast in this game. I'm fairly certain I said this on Friday whenever we recorded. And I think the common theme we're going to see from this weekend is that I was right on a lot of shit. That's all I'm going to say. That's all I'm going to throw it out there. But I think right now, for me, I think the Packers are the number one team to win it for the Super Bowl. With the other things, and we'll get into what happened in the other games, but I just think the Packers look really good. Yeah, the Rams were definitely down key contributors in terms of Aaron Darnold being injured. Jared Goff still has his fucked up hand, but I still think the fact that they looked like the Packers were in control for the majority of the game. I think they were down at some points, but I still never felt like it wasn't the Packers' game to win. So I think if that's the way they're going to keep going, I think they are just going to put a fucking wallop on the Bucks.
No, I agree. The Packers definitely look like a wagon right now. Going into the postseason, the number one question was their defense. Like, how would they hold up? Were they legit the last couple games? And obviously, as you said, Jared Goff was injured, but they shut down Cam Akers, the Rams running back, who had like a monster game the week before. So the defense looks pretty good.
So, and I also think officially, is Devontae Adams officially just in the top high echelon of wide receivers? I know he's kind of one of those guys that I feel like 2 seasons ago people kind of never included in the Julio Jones, the DeAndre Hopkins, the Michael Thomas, that category. But I think he's now officially 100% in that category, if he's not towards the top of that category, right?
I mean, I personally have always thought Devontae Adams, not within the last 3 years that he was a top 5 wide receiver. At least number 5, probably right on the edge of that top 5 group. But going into with this season, I'd probably put him top 3.
I just think this season he has just put together such a nice body of work that I just think he is definitely hell. I think I'd even put him over Julio Jones at this point. I still think I'd want. I still think Hopkins would be my number 1, but I think he is probably at least comfortably in 2.
Julio isn't even in my top 5 anymore. He's basically just a name at this point. He doesn't do that much. I mean, he has decent games sometimes within the season, but he doesn't score a lot of touchdowns. And this year, I don't even think he had 1,000 yards. So he's basically just on the downward side of his career. So I personally would take Julio out of the top 5. Devontae Adams definitely in the top 5.
Lucas, what are you thinking?
Yeah, he has 18 touchdowns this season, so that just speaks for itself. It's dominant.
Definitely. 18 touchdowns.
So the Packers definitely looking very tough, very good. Rams, I think the Rams are also in a spot where, and this is kind of shitty to say, but I think they're actually in such a win now mode because of all the picks they traded to get Ramsey and all the players they have with their contracts. I think the Rams are at a point where they only got a couple more years left before I think they start, I don't want to say rebuild, but I almost feel like they're just not going to be as competitive.
I actually saw a report today that there's a little bit of controversy between Jared Goff and head coach Sean McVay. So little drama going into the offseason.
What, do they just not like one another nowadays, or what?
It's maybe a little bit of a Doug Peterson, Carson Wentz type relationship starting to build there, Jared Goff a little pissed that he wasn't named the starter, maybe going into the playoffs, even though basically he showed he could do as good, if not better, than that other dude who was in there for a little bit.
I thought
Even
he had
with
a
his fucked up hand.
I thought he had a broken hand going into the playoffs. That's why he wasn't named the starter.
He has like broken thumb, and he had rods in his thumb, but he obviously showed that he could play with the rods in his thumb. I mean, compared to the other guy.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's. I'm
Like
sure it's such a,
you're the starting quarterback. Like Goff probably expected him to be the starter no matter what. Like unless he said like he couldn't go, and he was ready to go, and McVay was like, "Nah, bro, we're starting this other bum over you." You know what I mean? And I think Jared Goff feels a little disrespected. And then going into this week, like Sean McVay didn't name a starter until like the day before the game.
well, that's because just Sean McVay's just big braining it, and that way you don't know who to. The Packers didn't know who to prepare for. That's all it was. I mean, I don't think it really mattered either way, but that was just the brain thought behind it.
Oh, maybe, but Jared Goff's that pretty surfer boy from Los Angeles. Maybe a little brain dead, doesn't know what the hell's going.
Was
They
he
just
drafted? He was drafted after Wentz, right? He was number 2.
He was number one. He was the number one overall.
Oh, was he
pick.
one?
Yeah,
Fuck,
he
I
was
always get
one
that
and
mixed
Wentz
up.
was two.
Wild. Crazy to
Wild.
think both of them might be moving potentially within a year or two, especially since the one head coach got fired, and I don't think the Rams are getting rid of McVay anytime soon.
Definitely.
So we'll have to keep an eye on that one.
Definitely.
Other big game happened on Saturday night. I think we thought that this might be the game of the week, and the Ravens at Bills. Kind of a snooze fest, actually. Really wasn't that high scoring a game like I think we all thought it was going to be. The Bills beat the Ravens 3-17. Bills look good-ish, I would say. I think they definitely could be better. But the Ravens really kind of did not impress anyone, I don't think.
The Bills'
I think
defense was they just shut down the Ravens the entire game. They proved to be basically a number one defense. Obviously, the offense didn't do shit, but that's crazy. Josh Allen had a great game, 200 passing yards, but I think they still have a lot to show, and they're saving it for the championship.
Yeah, the Bills went into this game. Their number one goal of defense was to shut down Lamar's legs and make him try and throw the ball. And Lamar obviously is the best passer of the football, so the Ravens were in it up until he got hurt there, and then that backup comes in. At that point, it's over.
Well, so whenever that backup came in, so I fell asleep during the third quarter, woke up halfway through the fourth quarter, and saw just the Ravens quarterback kind of balling out a little bit. But this is whenever they were also, like, I think the Bills were almost in prevent defense, and I thought, man, Lamar's kind of putting the heat on. I then realized a couple minutes later that, holy shit, that's not Lamar Jackson throwing the ball, and that Lamar actually was concussed. So I don't think that serves very well for Lamar, because you should probably be able to instantly know, holy shit, that's not Lamar Jackson. What the fuck's going on? But I think Lamar just needs to improve as a passer of the ball. And I know everyone said Josh Allen a couple years ago did the same thing where he wasn't accurate, and now he's very accurate. So I think just Lamar just needs to take those next steps as a passer to really just unlock, I guess, an offense around him. Because if you're so run heavy, if you take away the run and you almost force someone to pass and they expose you every time, it just doesn't look good.
I think the Ravens need to get Lamar Jackson, number one wide receiver. Like the Bills went and got Stephon Diggs. Those two have linked up. Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs this season. They're like the number one wide receiver QB duo. I definitely think that's helped contribute to Josh Allen's growth this season. So maybe if they got Lamar, a stud wide receiver, to help bail him out sometimes. He's not throwing that corpse Des Bryant out there.
Well, and I think, wasn't Marquise, or no, not Hollywood Brown, wasn't he supposed to be kind of like that number one receiver? But I feel like he just isn't it.
No, he was drafted in the first round. He was a big play receiver in college, but he's pretty undersized, and basically his whole game is speed. It's like running past you, and when you get shut down there, he's not really much of a threat. So I think they need to go out and get like a big name receiver. Awesome.
Yeah, I think that would actually be really and I agree 100%. I think as a young quarterback, it can be good and bad to have that true number one. Like I think we've seen with the Browns, whenever you have like it seems like whenever Odell plays, Baker performs worse. And I don't know if that's because he feels like he has to feed the ball, but in the case of like a Josh Allen and a Stephon Diggs, it almost makes it so much better because now you have a reliable wide receiver where you know you can throw to. So maybe it's also one of those things where with the Browns, they have so many good weapons that if you're just trying to force feed the one weapon, it doesn't help. But with the Bills, where really they have Josh Allen, it's not like they have any like crazy good run. I mean, they have good running backs, but it's not like they have any crazy good running backs or wide receivers. If you have that number one guy, that almost just establishes like a pecking order then to go through. So, but yeah, the Bills looked good this game. I think they could look better.
I think the Bills might beat the Chiefs in the AFC Championship.
See, I keep wanting to see what happens with Mahomes, with his injury, and we can get to it here in a little bit. But that is what concerns me. What concerns me is that I think that there's a couple times during this game where the Bills should have just. I just feel like they should have been up even more than what they were, and so that only concerns me because if you play the Chiefs and if it's the Chiefs of past of a fully healthy offense, and they're just putting up points constantly, you almost got to match them.
Chiefs defense isn't very good though.
True.
Bills defense
I think
is the world better.
Yeah, the Ravens defense is definitely better than the Chiefs defense. So I think the Bills should be able to score some points.
Yeah, but I think the Chiefs offense is better than the Bills offense.
Oh yeah, I'm not saying that, but
maybe.
We'll see.
I don't know. Well, speaking of the Chiefs, we'll go to the next game. So it's the Browns at Chiefs. 17-22 was the final score, and the big headline coming out of this game is that Patrick Mahomes was injured. Couldn't really tell 100% what happened. Some people said it was a concussion. Probably is a concussion, but probably isn't a concussion because they'll still play him.
A pinched nerve. He wasn't concussed. But
I've never seen a pinched nerve cause someone to go to stand up and then almost instantly drop to their feet, and their offensive line have to then hold them up.
Lost his breath or something. That's the worst. Getting the breath knocked out of you. He couldn't walk. He's just trying to be the tough guy, walk it off, but who knows, man.
I also saw the pinched nerve report. That could just be like BS to clear the whole concussion thing. He's going to play this week regardless, so it doesn't matter. There's no way he misses.
I think Mahomes could literally be like have the worst concussion you can possibly get before actual brain damage, and I still think he would play this game because I think the NFL wants him to play this game no matter what. I don't think there's a single reason why they would not want him to because he's the big
300 yards in the first half. It's crazy.
This is a matchup between two stud young quarterbacks who I believe came out of the same draft class. This is like the future of the NFL. Like this past weekend we saw, or like this weekend we saw like Tampa Tom and Drew Brees go at it. The old guns. Now this coming weekend we'll see the young bucks go at it. The future of the NFL.
Well, and I think the other thing that could come out of the Bills-Chiefs game, I think if the Bills win, I think Josh Allen then can become like a superstar name in the NFL.
Oh, definitely.
Because Mahomes is already there, so I think what's going to happen is obviously these younger guys are going to keep coming up, and I think that Allen might be the next one to kind of take that superstar quarterback name.
I think he's already proven himself just this season and playoff run alone.
Definitely. He wants to add to his legacy, though, for sure. If he knocks off Mahomes, that's definitely big for him. I'm sure he knows that, too.
But and the crazy thing was, though, so after Mahomes got injured, who came in after? Who's the backup quarterback that came in?
Chad Henne.
Henne came in and throws a horrible pick right off the bat. And the Browns actually was in a winnable game. They could have actually beat the Chiefs. There was a world where they could have actually won.
They actually should have won at this point.
Baker Mayfield had a great game besides one interception, but I think he's proven himself to be a NFL quarterback, and he's carrying the team. They had a great rushing attack, but they just too many mistakes and couldn't get past them.
The turning
Chiefs.
point of this game was definitely when that Browns wide receiver fumbled the ball out of the end zone when he was diving for the pylon, and it gave the ball right back to the Bills. Like, that was 6 points off the board for the Browns. Like, that's a 6-point swing right there. And that was a huge turning point. Bills just marched right down the field and made it like a 3-score game after that, I believe.
Yeah.
Well,
That and
and
an
that's
interception,
okay.
just how it turns the game.
Well, and that's always talked about as like one of the worst rules is the one where if you fumble out of the back of the end zone, isn't it the other team then gets the ball as a touchback,
Who
correct?
Yeah,
cares?
the,
It's just
the
the
defense
rule.
the defense gets the ball at the 20-yard
I
line.
hate people complaining about it.
Yeah, this is a
Everyone
known
knows
rule.
the
This,
fucking
this
rule.
happens once a year. You know, teams know not to do this. Like Bill Belichick tells the Patriots, like, don't even dive for the pylon. It's not worth it. But you know, that's the risk you take, man. You extend the ball, you give the defense an opportunity to knock it out. You got to give the defense a shot. You know, the offense can't score every time.
Well, and this time didn't it? And correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't he just kind of like was he diving for it, or was he just
No,
trying
no.
to?
No, he's diving.
No, he was full on extending for the pylon, and then a Chiefs player came in and drilled him helmet to helmet. It should have been flagged as a unnecessary roughness call, but there was no flag, and the dude literally fumbled the ball. Somehow it stayed in bounds. I'm pretty sure a Browns player had a chance to pick it up in the end zone, and he like hit it out of bounds, which resulted
Oh,
in the
really?
touchback. Yeah.
I think this game would have been so much worse if Mahomes didn't get injured, obviously.
Oh,
But
definitely.
they were
I
just
think
dominating the first half, like 300 yards, like I said. Just complete. They had like I think 1 point, 21 plays, 10 first downs.
Yeah, that's crazy. So
even
see,
when
that's-
when Henny came in to the game, did you guys see like the fourth down play at the end of the game? They ran
Oh, yeah.
like ice hit, like the balls on the Chiefs, man.
That was just Andy
Well,
Reid's massive testicles in our face.
can we talk about? Were you guys listening to Tony Romo's announcing for that? I'm pretty sure Tony
yeah.
Romo was 100% a wreck that entire time.
Yeah,
he
he
just
definitely.
kept talking about how Heineke just pushed the Chiefs to the AFC Championship whenever he clearly was like a half a yard short. And then he was trying to predict, it's just gonna be a hard count. They're not gonna snap anything. And then whenever they snapped it, I'm pretty sure he whipped his dick out right there and just started beating it, with Al
Pretty
Michaels
sure-
watching.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Al Michaels was reaching around the tent there. Jim Nance and him, they were doing the old skiing trip.
Well, that
The
is,
old Dutch rudder.
that is a ballsy call by Andy Reid. Because could you imagine how stupid he looks if it's 4-1, and you're only up by 5 points, and if Heineke blows that throw or something happens where it just doesn't work, and now boom, you pretty much give the Browns great field position right there, and
Hey,
they just
man.
have to drive.
That's the risk you take, baby, and it paid off. You know, look how wide open he was. No one in the world expected that shit to happen.
Well, and I wonder if there's also something that goes into it where once you win one Super Bowl, you can kind of be a lot more ballsy, I guess, in your play calling, where it just
Has
not that
nothing
it
to do
doesn't.
with it.
You don't think?
Nah, they don't care about that. It was just a play
I think
call.
they're just confident. They just know that they're better than the Browns and that they can do it. You know?
See, I think if it's a coach who is on the hot seat or something like that, I just think you think way more about doing just random plays like that. Because if that, like, if that was Stefanski, if it was flipped, where that was Stefanski and he just gives the ball back to Mahomes with a minute left and only 50 yards to go, he looks like the biggest jackass. But then Andy Reid doing it, which granted Mahomes and
Maybe.
Baker Mayfield, two completely different players, but
I think it's also like the personality of the coach. Like
Yeah.
that's the Andy Reid personality. Look at Doug Peterson. He came from Andy Reid's like coaching tree. He ran like the Philly special in the Super Bowl. Just like that unexpected shit, you know. That's the one thing you like analytics can't account for in a football game. It's like those wild momentum swings.
But either way, I thought it was a great game. I really enjoyed how the Browns were actually kind of in it, which was kind of a bullshit reason, but it made it so much more better as opposed to just a complete blowout like everyone thought it would. And hey, Browns covered +10. Keep that in mind.
We told you there's a possibility of that, not them winning, but of them covering.
No, look at them covering. It was a beautiful cover.
Oh, yeah.
And then for the final game, it was the Bucks at Saints. The Bucks won 30-20. Chance, do you want to give a nice eulogy to Drew Brees' career right now and him being done?
Yeah, man. You know he's the second greatest quarterback of all time, behind obviously Tom Brady. I mean, no one can compare to him. But statistically, he's up there. most of the records he has, Tom Brady might take within the next couple years. But
Super Bowl
we'll, s-
champion,
we'll
Super Bowl
see.
MVP,
Yeah,
two-time
man.
Offensive Player of the Year, NFL Comeback Player of the Year, 13-time
Bas-
Pro Bowl, 7-time passing leader, 4-time passing touchdown leader.
Anything else?
he also has.
6-time completion percentage leader.
There it is. Basically, this guy helped me enjoy the game of football a lot. So when I didn't really have an NFL team until like 2006, I got into the NFL. Basically, like Reggie Bush was my favorite college player. He got drafted to the Saints, so I was like, fuck it, I'll start following the Saints. So became a Saints fan. Obviously, they were shitty up until Drew Brees getting there and Sean Payton in 2006. They went to the NFC Championship game that year, lost to the Bears, and then from there on is basically history. They had record-setting offenses and horrible defenses for like 10 years. They ended up winning a Super Bowl somehow in the middle of all that. Unbelievable times. I'll never forget that shit. Um, then they had last 4 years some of the greatest opportunities to get to the Super Bowl and some of the worst luck I've ever seen any professional sports team have. From the missed call in the Rams game to the Minnesota Miracle fucking play, just complete bullshit. And then last year they got eliminated by the Vikings again off some bullshit fucking no call pass interference that didn't get called. Oh, I could accept this defeat. They lost to the better team. There was no bullshit controversy. Obviously it sucks that Drew Brees went out throwing 3 interceptions. His noodle arm couldn't do anymore. But it was sad seeing him leave the dome that last time. But thanks for the memories, Drew. You're still the GOAT in my book.
So that was a beautiful, beautiful eulogy to Drew Brees' career chance. That was truly beautiful.
Thank you.
I will say this. I do think Drew Brees definitely 100% surefire first ballot Hall of Famer. No doubt about it.
Not even an
Hate,
argument.
yeah,
Not
hate
even
to
worth
see it
saying.
though. That he is a first ballot Hall of Famer. That for some reason he wouldn't be a first ballot Hall of
Look,
Famer.
That he's a
If
first
you
ballot
look-
Hall of Famer. That's what I'm saying.
If you look at what he's done just in his career, so he got drafted to the Chargers. He tore his fucking arm. Basically, they never thought he'd play football again because he basically had it wasn't the same fucking surgery that Ben had, but like he basically tore all the ligaments in his shoulder, and came back. Nobody wanted him. He signed with the Saints and turned into a fucking Hall of Famer from that day forth. Led a bum ass franchise to a championship. Like, I'm not saying he's like LeBron, but basically he was like LeBron carrying the Cavs to a championship. Just this bum ass franchise that had nothing to cheer for. They wore fucking paper bags to their games because they were embarrassed to be fans. Without Drew Brees, I don't think that team. I think they'd still be fucking the Aints. That's without a doubt.
So, see, Chance, there was 2 ways I wanted to go about this. If we would have led with this game, I was going to try to be a little bit more of a dick. But since you did a nice eulogy there, I'm gonna be not as much of a dick.
There is one thing I want to bring up. Drew Brees aside, how about that Jameis Winston revenge game touchdown?
Well, so I was going to say that I'll go this route with it. It's tough that Drew Brees went out as the second best quarterback on the roster because clearly Jameis was the best quarterback in this whole entire game. He had the perfect completion percentage, absolute bomb to his receiver, beautiful play, stole it right from the Bears. It was awesome.
Yep.
So I think Jameis. Well, I don't think Drew Brees officially retired yet, but I think he did the look back as he was walking off the field. So that's how you know he's done.
Yeah, that was for his 30 for 30, NFL film. So, that's going to be the send-off right there. That's how it's going to end.
I think
So
if
I'm
Jameis would have played, they would have at least had a better chance winning.
Yeah,
'Cause
definitely.
I think
Yeah.
their problem was Drew Brees' passing, and Jameis Winston
So,
maybe not a better
to
passer, but
the
at least brought something different.
2 of the interceptions were on Breeze. The other one went right through Jared Cook's hands.
Yeah.
That fucker should have
Mhm.
caught it. And then that motherfucker fumbled the ball. So I blame the loss on that stooge. Hope he's gone. Fuck Jared Cook.
And you don't blame it at all on the fact that Drew Brees couldn't throw beyond like the 15
No,
yard line?
I Drew Brees deserves the blame. I said that 2 of the interceptions were on him, and I said he had a noodle arm. I did throw some offense to him, but come on, man. I'm not gonna rip him apart. It's a team game. It's not just on him.
Well, and the other
Mike
weird
Thomas
thing,
had 0 fucking catches. Where's Mike Thomas at? 100
Well,
mil
and-
receiver.
and that's what I was gonna say is I don't understand how a Mike Thomas is only targeted 4 times and has 0 receptions. Like that just baffles me.
Tampa's
that
defense
was
is real good. Maybe he was locked down the entire time. Obviously, they can't do that 100% of the time, but maybe they just shut him down.
No, it's definitely that Tampa's defense played balls out. But, it was a good game. Like I said, there was no controversy in this one. I can accept a nice defeat. That I don't have to sit there and say, "What the fuck, refs?" It is what it is.
Can you also agree that it's tough to beat a team 3 times in a season?
Like, hey, the statistic is now 14-8, but that's still good odds. But
That was the only
Tom
thing I
Brady-
could think of.
Tom Brady has never lost the same team 3 times, man. So
So see, maybe you should have been looking at a Tom Brady stat, not as
that's
a
what
NFL
it
stat.
is. The TB12 fucking method is unreal. That's the key to life right there.
And the crazy thing was Brady didn't even have that good of a game either. I'm looking at his stats
No.
right now. He was 18 for 33 for 199 yards and 2 touchdowns.
This was a straight defensive game. It was just whoever made the less mistakes. And the Saints made 4 fucking turnovers. Wait.
So I mean, the Bucks are going to go and play the Packers. I just don't know what to even think of the Bucks because I mean they have all these offensive weapons, but sometimes I feel like they look really good, and sometimes I just feel like they don't look that great. And
Just know
Go ahead.
this. Tom Brady's going to be in a fucking scuba suit this week.
he's going to be in a what?
A scuba suit, like a diving suit that you wear in like deep water.
TB12
Right.
can't handle the cold, man.
He literally, and he doesn't play in cold weather games like much, but when he does, he wears like this like really tight diving suit. It's like a leather diving suit. You can clearly tell it's a diving suit, like under his uniform. It's
Really?
crazy. Yeah, he's like
Maybe
such
he's
a
just-
pussy.
Maybe that's just like a kink thing that he brings from the bed to there because it
It
keeps
might.
him nice and warm.
He probably wears it when Gazelle beats him.
Well, and I don't know who has the early game and who has the late game, but I also did say it depends on whose bedtime came sooner. That was the other thing I brought up. So, hopefully it's a little bit earlier game. That way Brady will be awake for it. But I think overall, I thought it was a great weekend of football. I thought all the games were pretty compelling for the most part. I mean, there wasn't any crazy blowouts. I mean, Packers and Rams kind of got away from it, but it's
was
not like we were
entertaining.
going.
They all played entertainingly. Like, there's no blowouts,
Yeah.
like you said.
Yeah, so there was nothing that was that bad. Can't wait for next weekend, and we will cover that more in the later this week's episode or the later podcast this week. There we go, and we'll go into the matchups and we'll take our picks and whatnot. Is there anything else you guys want to say about before we wrap this up and go on to our guest?
Nope, that's all I have.
All right. Then special treat for everyone. We got a guest coming in, Jim, a friend of ours, roommate of some. And we're going to be talking about Star Wars. We teased it last episode. We're going to be talking about Mandalorian and some of the other things that Star Wars has going on because we are a pro Star Wars podcast. So
yeah.
we will be right back. All right, we're back. We're joined by the first ever guest on Sportsnet, our friend Jim. Jim, say
How's
hi
it
to the
going,
people.
guys.
Hi, Jim.
How's it going, everybody? I'm a big fan of the show ever since Trash Deer, episode 1. Love it. I'm super excited we're back, and thank you for having me.
So, Jim, we brought you on here because you are an expert in the Star Wars category. Definitely way
One of
more
the
than
best
me.
Star Wars minds that I know.
Oh, I appreciate it.
Lucas is coming alive right now. I can see it. I can see the twinkle in his eyes, getting ready to talk about Star Wars. So whenever we were away, a new Star Wars series came out, The Mandalorian, exclusively on Disney Plus. All four of us watch it every week. Love it. Love all the episodes. So we just kind of wanted to, I guess, have a discussion on season 2 of Mandalorian. It just ended a couple weeks ago. Actually, before we started recording, I didn't even realize what all happened in one season. So Jim, why don't you give us your first? Give us kind of how you felt about season 2 of The Mandalorian.
Okay, so for me, season 2 of The Mandalorian is probably some of the best Star Wars that's ever been created. I think it's up there with the Clone Wars, which in my opinion is the best Star Wars. I think it's better than the movies. I think it just totally encompasses what Star Wars is all about, and Mando is right there. Um, it's only 8 episodes, but man, they're freaking jam packed with stuff. I mean, like you were saying, you didn't realize that episode 1 was the Crate Dragon, so we went from that to Ahsoka to Din fighting in the last episode. So it's great. I love it.
I agree, man. Fucking good shit. Like heroin,
And
man. Star Wars heroin.
yeah, it's so good.
It's just some of the
I
best
love.
Star Wars, like just straight up Star Wars material you can consume. Like it's just pure Star Wars.
Yeah, yeah,
They
for
do
sure.
it so
And I
well.
really love that it's bringing people that maybe lost their love for Star Wars back, and it showed like Ahsoka, who's probably my favorite Star Wars character, and you wouldn't know about her unless you watched the Clone Wars. And while it was a very popular show, it wasn't super mainstream. So I love that it's bringing all these characters into the mainstream, and casual Star Wars fans now get to experience like how good these characters are.
That's it. I want to get into. So it's not just casual. Like the new people are also getting into Star Wars because of the show. It's so awesome that I have like family members who, never watched Star Wars before. They come up to me and they're like, "Yo, did you watch that Mandalorian show?" And I'm like, "Yeah, of course." And so it's introducing like people to the show, and then they watch it, they see these characters, and they're like, "Who the fuck is that?" That I saw Star Wars when I was a kid, and these people didn't exist. And you try to explain a little bit to them. You're like, hey, there's a couple more shows you can watch and learn about these people, and it gets them, or you get them into it, and next thing you know, they're hooked. It's great.
So I will say this, and I think right hand up, I think I am the most casual out of the four of us by far.
Doesn't
Not
matter.
Well, no, and I'm not saying that in like a bad way. I'm just saying like from my understanding of the world and the lore, I know enough, but like I don't know all the details of every character. So like for instance, like Jim was saying, like I know who Ahsoka is because I watched some of the Clone Wars. I didn't watch all the Clone Wars, but I know some of it. But the other Mandalorians that came in episode, I think 3 of this season, I can't think of what the girl's name was.
Bo-Katan.
Yeah, her. I know she was big in the Rebels, right? Rebels series.
Rebels and Clone
Rebels
Wars.
and Clone Wars.
Yeah.
Okay, so see, I didn't even know she was in the Clone Wars, but I just knew she was a character from another part of Star Wars that I didn't even know about. So now I was introduced to another character. But even as just like a casual Star Wars fan, it's so enjoyable just to watch it because it is so well produced and the story is so good. And it does really dive into kind of what's going on around, kind of the main Skywalker arc and what's going on in different parts of the galaxy, or I guess not different parts, but in another part of the galaxy, which I think is one of the Star Wars world's strongest aspect that I don't think that they dig into enough, is that they have this entire universe where they can literally do anything. And I feel like this is a good sign that they're kind of starting to show like, hey, we can do more with different characters that we even just mentioned upon or brushed upon. Or we can even make new characters just based off of other things that have previously been there. Because I mean, if you think about it, the Mandalorian, it's not like he's a character from the main movies. He's just part of a clan that's mentioned in the main movies. So I think it's really cool that they're doing stuff like this. We can talk about it later about the other stuff that they're trying to also show that they're trying to bring more into the world. But yeah, it's definitely, even as a casual Star Wars fan, it is so good to watch it every week. And it gives you something to look forward to on a Friday, actually.
For sure, it's a fantastic show, and I'm really psyched that they know, they picked it up. A lot of people were hesitant at first when it was announced. They weren't sure what the show was going to be about, and they're like, how could Star Wars have a TV show? Like, how could you keep it up with the movies? Blah blah blah. Well, I think it's doing a fantastic job of like tying all the other shows and movies together. It's not like overlapping anything or making anything not make sense. I think it's actually doing a really good job of like blending shit together and expanding on the lore and explaining stuff that wasn't explained before.
The other thing that I think is nice that they have in their back pocket is that at any point, if they want to bump a show from like an 8 out of 10 to like a 10 out of 10, they literally just have the Mandalorian take off his helmet, and it instantly goes up to a 10 out of 10 because it makes it just so much more intense and so much more cool. Because like, oh my gosh, he actually took off his helmet for once, which is a bullshit thing for them to do, but it's still so awesome whenever he takes it off because you just feel like you're getting such an inside look at who the character is. So that's another thing that I also just think is funny, that the second he takes off a helmet, it just becomes so much more than just like, just a Star Wars or TV show at that point.
Oh, for sure. Spoiler alert, one of my favorite episodes in the whole season, or in season 2, was the episode with Bill Burr when they break into the Imperial base, and he does take off his helmet. And you can just tell by the actor's like reactions that he's like freaking out the entire time. Like he doesn't know how to talk, he doesn't know how to look at anybody because he's never been around people without his helmet on. And I just think the actor does like a great job of portraying that. It's just such a fantastic scene. And then Bill Burr just starts blasting some imps.
So I watched some video where like it actually went in more in depth on like the acting. What's the actor's name for the Mandalorian? Who plays that?
Pedro Pascal.
Yeah,
Pedro.
yes, thank you, Jim.
Yeah.
That he was actually like, if you look at his movements, he was turning and like looking at people like he still had a helmet on.
Exactly.
Because like you like normally if you don't wear your helmet, you can see a lot out of your peripheral visions and stuff like that. But still, when he would talk to people, he would like shift his like entire shoulders to look directly square at them. I just thought that was another very cool thing that I didn't realize, but watching this video, I was like, oh shit, yeah, he did do that. That's such another in-depth thing.
There's so many small details in every episode that like you just don't pick up on watching it the first time. You have to watch it like a couple times, and you're like, holy shit! Like he's actually freaked out that he doesn't have his helmet on. He doesn't know what to do. It's great.
Yeah, for sure. And speaking of that episode, one thing that I really liked, and it's going to go unnoticed with a lot of people, especially casual people, because they don't really know about it, is the officer they were talking to was talking about Operation Cinder, which is like that was a contingency plan whenever the Emperor died, to basically just destroy planets with this like laser system that like burns stuff. And that gets mentioned besides the books and whatnot, but it gets mentioned in the newest Star Wars Battlefront game, where in the campaign they show Operation Cinder. And like it's just so cool how they talk about these small details from the EU, from Legends, whatever you want to call it. They just mention these small details because Star Wars fans are making this show. Lucas's right-hand man is making this show. He knows what he's talking about. Like, if Lucas is God, he's Jesus. And so we have the Jesus of Star Wars making this show, and that's why it's so damn good.
Yeah, definitely Dave Filoni is 100% fan, and Jon Favreau is right there beside him.
Yep. Pittsburgh boy, by the way. Shout out to Dave Filoni. He's the Pittsburgh boy.
Exactly.
We got to get him on the Sports and Nat
Dave
podcast
Filoni
to talk
on
about
the
Star Wars.
Side. Could you imagine Dave Filoni on the Sports and Nat podcast?
That'd be something, man.
That'd be
We'll
incredible.
get our guys on it. Don't worry.
Yeah, we'll get on that. Get on that, Lucas.
All right.
You got those connects.
Also, I think in kind of talking about, there were 3 big characters that were kind of brought back up this season, in terms of Ahsoka, the other Mandalorian who I already forgot her name, but I know she's actually important. Bo-Katan. Thank you.
Katan.
And Chance's favorite, the other Mandalorian that we've essentially been introduced to,
Boba Fett.
and Boba Fett.
He's not really a Mandalorian per se. It's deep in lore, but he's basically a clone of a foundling. Basically, what Din Djarin is, the Mandalorian now. So in lore, I'll go back a little bit. So Jango Fett, who is the template of the clone army in the movies, he is the bounty hunter in Episode 2. Boba Fett is his clone. Basically, he was a clone that was altered so that he wouldn't have like enhanced growth. So all the clones in Star Wars have like sped up life cycles, so they can go from children to adults super fast to be soldiers quicker. So Boba Fett was like an unaltered clone, basically just a normal kid. So he grew up being a bounty hunter with his dad and whatnot. Obviously, his dad got decapitated on the Battle of Geonosis in Episode 2, and from that day forth, Boba Fett became a badass. So I was super pumped to see him brought back in Mandalorian. If you didn't know, he supposedly died in the original trilogy, Episode 6. He died in the Sarlacc pit, but they have yet to explain how he got out. I'm pumped to see that in the upcoming show.
Something to note though is there's a lot of like point of contention on what's a Mandalorian.
Yeah.
You know, like a lot of people consider that Mandalorians are from Mandalore. You know, the planet Mandalore. It makes sense, but they're seeming to establish that being a Mandalorian is a creed, not so much like a race of people or anything like that. Therefore,
yeah.
with the foundlings and stuff.
It's like a religion. How some people take different religions more serious, or how in each religion there's different sects on each one.
It's kind of like Judaism, how like you don't have to be born into that. You could just be like anybody, just become like a Jew.
Or there's like Christianity, there's
Or
like
that
Roman
too, yeah.
Catholics, Christians,
Yeah,
like
all
that
that.
kind of shit.
As long as you do the work of a Mandalorian, then you're a Mandalorian. There, can I bring up a theory?
Sure.
Jim, you bring up whatever you want to bring up.
Go to town.
So, do you remember the blacksmith in the first season? She's the one that made the best car armor.
Mhm.
Yeah, she was the one that had like the Roman Spartan look.
Yeah. But she had horns on her helmet. There's a theory that she is actually she's of Darth Maul's race.
Okay.
And so she has like, or maybe not his race, but just a different alien species that has horns on her head, and that's why she has horns in her helmet. Does it really matter? Probably not, but that would also establish that you don't have to be from Mandalore to be a Mandalorian.
Exactly. I know in like the expanded universe in the books, I believe the first Mandalorians weren't even like humans; they were some other race, and then like the humans just came in and they were like adopted into the creed basically, and just kind of took over.
Well, and didn't this season also kind of show that like our Mandalorian is like part of like a more, like if we're gonna compare it to like religion, like a more strict version of Mandalore, or like
Yeah.
a Mandalorian, I guess,
Yeah.
thoughts.
He's more of like a fanatic, like more of a cult following, you know, like they follow strict guidelines and shit. Whereas
Hmm.
like the rest of the Mandalorians that we meet in the season, they're like laid back, you know, they don't follow the same shit. But they
I
they
just
are Mandalorians.
I just also thought that was like another layer that they just added to the character, where it's like, you know, hey, everyone kind of looks at him like he's not that he's like stuck in old times, but it's kind of like, dude, like you can take off your helmet, it's not that big of a deal. But he looks at it in such a high regard that like, no, I have to keep my helmet on. But then like Bo-Katan, like she's just like, yeah, dude, take off your fucking helmet. Like, what are you doing? You look like a dick. So I just thought that was also another interesting layer that they added onto the character this season, that it's like he's kind of, and I think he's slowly kind of starting to change the way he looks at that. For the couple times he has taken off his helmet this season. So I'm curious to see in season 3 where that goes. If he starts to become more of a, I guess, not as a devout Mandalore, where he maybe starts just showing his just bare face a lot more.
Yeah.
Like
They mentioned he's part of Child of the Watch, which in the first season we find that he was a foundling, and he got found by the Death Watch, which was considered an extreme sect during the Clone Wars. And Bo-Katan was actually part of Death Watch until Maul took over Death Watch. So there is a theory that the Child of the Watch was a splinter group from Death Watch that were like, we don't take this serious enough, and so they reintroduced not taking off the helmet and whatnot. So they're like a more extreme version of an extreme version. So it'd be like if ISIS had a splinter
Exactly.
group and like they just blew up everybody, they didn't care, something like that.
I was good. I wanted to compare them to ISIS off the beginning, but yeah, but
But Jim actually did it. Jim's a guest.
I
He can
did.
just make those
I was there.
comparisons. Now can can I say something bad, which no one else ever agrees with me, but I'm going to say it. And Jim Lucas already heard the full grunt of this argument whenever it happened, because we watched the last episode together. Last episode, spoiler, they build it up where it looks like everyone's gonna die because what are they called? Death Troopers?
Dark Troopers.
Dark Troopers. I'm sorry, Dark or Death. That was close. The Dark Troopers were gonna like break in and just like fuck up the Mandalorian and everyone else there. And then next thing you know, you just see this jet fighter come in or jet.
X-Wing.
Is that what it is?
No,
X-wing.
X-wing.
Oh my
Fuck.
goodness.
I almost
Jet
said TIE fighter, but I knew that wasn't right. So the X-Wing comes in and then there's this green lightsaber and everyone's like, oh, who is it? Who is it? Who is it? And then it's fucking Luke Skywalker. That pissed me
It's
off.
just fucking Luke Skywalker. It's just a Luke Skywalker.
So can I ask
So-
why did it piss you off?
Because, and this is what I said, and I
Get
kind of
ready,
alluded,
Shrek. Get ready.
I alluded to it in the beginning. Star Wars has such a good universe that it pisses me off whenever they feel like they have to relate everything back to the main. They pretty much just have to
Okay,
relate everything
okay.
back to a Skywalker.
Okay, but Tyler, at this point in the galaxy, there's only 3 possible surviving Jedi. Okay, so there's Luke Skywalker, there's
Mhm.
Ezra Bridger, the main character from Rebels, who nobody has any fucking idea where he is right now, and then there's Ahsoka. So
And she's not really a Jedi.
yeah, and she's not even a Jedi, and you can obviously tell it's not her from the beginning. And she wouldn't come back. Like they're not gonna bring her back. That'd be But or there's also a third alternative. There's potentially Cal Kestis, the main character of the Jedi Fallen Order game. He is supposedly still alive. He was never killed off. So there was rumor that he was potentially going to come, but he obviously didn't. So I don't know if he's alive or not.
But it drives me crazy because it's like I just feel like there's such a good story there that you just don't need to bring it up. Like it's like just keep it its own thing to a certain extent.
So
And like
here's
you even said, wait, hold
I
up,
think
hold up.
no. There's just nothing even to argue about. I think you're just playing up wrong. I can't even like think of an argument why. You're just wrong. It doesn't make it worse that they involved him. There wasn't like anything better or anything to do. It's fucking Luke Skywalker. Like it has to be him.
Well, because then people are already saying now that in the last trilogy that came out, didn't Kylo Ren kill all of Luke's fucking
So that
trainees?
at this point, Kylo Ren isn't even born yet. So Luke hasn't even started his
It's
Jedi
not even
temple yet.
close to that.
So
Dude, but Grogu's 50 years fucking old and he's still like a baby. So you think that by the time
But bro,
he's-
that's what they're going to explain in the upcoming
Exactly.
seasons. Like that, they're going to show you what happens. Like the whole reason they brought Luke back was because the last 3 movies sucked so bad and did such a poor job of explaining shit that they're literally trying to fix those movies while also making such a badass TV show at the same time.
I don't even think they're bringing him in just to fix anything.
No,
I
no,
think
I'm not.
it's
I'm not saying
crucial
that.
to the story.
But they're going to use this to somehow explain, like go into those movies. Like they've already dropped several hints in several episodes. Like the one where they break into the Imperial prison. I can't remember what exactly they're doing, but it's like all the chicks and the Mandalorian break in, and they like find the computer and there's all those freaky ass clones in the back, in the test tubes. So like there's like theories that they're like working on Snoke back there. So there's just like small tie-ins to the films that they're branching out, Like everyone hates those movies, and I think the show is trying to fix them in a way that so people don't hate them all that much. Or
I think
in my case, I hope
saying-
they fucking rewrite them.
I think saying
retcon that
bringing
shit.
him in is bad. It's just so fucking
okay, maybe
crazy.
it's not bad. I just
What-
don't think it helps anything. That's
you
all.
just think it's like fan
just
service
a-
or something?
Yeah, that's exact. I just don't
No.
think I just 100%. That's all it is. It's just fan service.
But like, what
No.
you would just rather it be like some random ass Jedi that showed up?
Fuck yeah, I would honestly rather
the-
enjoy.
The
'Cause then guess
strength
what?
of the Dark Troopers, for him to take them all on single-handedly with nothing, only Luke Skywalker's strong enough to do that.
But like it literally could have been the whole point of the Mandalorian was that hey, we're going to give another Star Wars story. They literally could have then
They
went off
are.
of
This
there.
isn't focusing on the Skywalkers at all.
Well, but no, now they're a part of it though. That's what I'm saying. Like
Yeah,
they
but
literally could
what?
have.
I
focused-
think
So
the
what?
whole thing is
So
like
what?
the focus is Grogu, okay? So they want to I think they're going to spin off Grogu. I don't know if they're going to make movies about him or what, but Like he needed to be trained by a master, and right now in the universe, Luke Skywalker is like the only living Jedi master that is like known. I know you could say like they could bring back anybody, but like Luke Skywalker at this point is the only one that makes sense. Like if they
They
brought
could have
back
brought
Mace
back Mace
Windu,
Windu.
like that would have
Yep,
been
they could have brought back Mace
like
Windu.
that would have been sick as fuck, but like it would have made a lot less sense than like than Luke. You know, it would have been like, oh wow, they're resurrecting dead characters again. Like what the fuck?
Well, and okay, we can use this to pivot a little bit too. And I'll die on that hill alone that I don't think they should have brought back Luke. But literally after the end of that season, they like a week later they introduced all these new Disney Plus shows that are coming out. I'm just saying they very easily could have made up some random character and then had literally made another TV series just making this character up and showing how big of a
You're
badass they
saying
are.
this just to do it. Like, it doesn't make sense to have random characters.
Skip,
But why does that not make
Skip.
sense?
Skip.
You're
Listen here, Skip.
What I'm saying is that there's like the Star Wars universe is so large.
Oh,
I just would like to see them
So what?
build upon it as opposed to just pick from the same
They
fucking
are building-
pile.
They are, bro. They're literally showing you the most badass warriors in the Star Wars universe. Like the whole show is that. Like Grogu is just a
Star Wars
side
is
thing.
Skywalker.
The show is called The
So-
Mandalorian.
So I think Tyler has good intent with his argument because
Thank you, Jim.
He has some good intent.
No, Jim, you're
I
100%
love how
right.
much this pisses you off, Lucas. It's great, but no, I think he has good intent because he's right. They're like the beauty of the Clone Wars was they expanded upon so much because Star Wars, in my opinion, is the best and is the deepest universe in media. Like you can just do so much.
Yeah, but
And-
Anakin
and so I get-
Skywalker's in Clone Wars. Why would they do that? They have so many other options, bro.
So I get where he's coming from, but like Chance is saying, there's only so many Jedi alive, and Cal Kestis, nobody knows who that is.
Yep.
Only select. Now, Jedi: The Fallen Order is a great game. I recommend
Yep.
anyone plays it. It's really good. But he's not that pivotal. He isn't that strong of a Jedi, at least in the Fallen Order. And I mean, he could probably get stronger, but he'll never be the power of Luke Skywalker.
Yeah.
And like Lucas said, he showed how strong he was in that scene where he just chops down those Dark Troopers. Mando, it took him like 5 to 10 minutes to kill one Dark Trooper. With Luke, he just walked in there and just mowed everyone down like it was nothing. He barely broke a sweat. It reminds me of the scene in Rogue One, like the very end scene after
With
where
Vader.
Darth Vader is going to the Corvette, and he's like, he breaks in and he just kills everyone, and you can see the fear in everyone's eyes. If robots had emotions, they would have been scared as fuck.
That scene, I thought the same exact thing from Rogue One, but also like there was a couple moves Luke threw on there, like the behind the back, like fucking slice and dice that reminded me of like Anakin Skywalker slicing droids when him and Obi-Wan are going through the ship at the beginning of Episode 3. You know, just like some
Yeah.
it was just poetry, as George Lucas puts it. You know, I just love how they tie all this shit in together. It's just awesome.
And Luke force choked a Dark Trooper, right?
I'm pretty sure he crushed its like esophagus shit with the Force. Yeah.
Yeah, so it kind of shows that, like, he learned from Episode 6 that you can't exactly be perfectly light, you know, on the light side or whatever, or at least there can be a balance. And that's kind of what Ahsoka is as well. She's a gray Jedi, quote unquote, where they try to balance the light and the dark, and it kind of shows that like Luke grows from Episode 6. So I thought that was pretty cool. So I get where you're coming from, Tyler, but I kind of think you're wrong.
No, Jim, you're pretty much saying I'm right. That's pretty much what you're saying.
One more thing about
that.
one more thing about the Mandalorian before we start talking about the other shows. I love how they're like gonna kick Grogu to the side, so like they can just focus on like the war that's gonna take place on Mandalore this upcoming.
Yeah. With the
Like,
fucking
there's-
dark
That's gonna be
saber.
There's so much drama right now between the current Mandalorians that are like featured in the show. It's awesome.
Yeah, it's going to be epic, and while like Grogu's awesome, taking him away will be good for the show.
Exactly.
Because now you really, really, really get to focus on Mandalore the planet and how they're going to rebuild it.
And
And and Grogu would just take away from that story. They'd have to tell about him like learning how to become a Jedi and stuff. If we can just focus on that, and Grogu can come back next season at the end, probably that's what's going to happen. But
Exactly.
we just need to focus on rebuilding Mandalore. How does Bo-Katan get the Darksaber from Din? Because she's gonna have to fight him
Oh yeah.
at this point. So that's going to be interesting, unless she's like, okay, you can lead it. But Bo is she's an anti-hero for in the Clone Wars she starts out as a villain. Then she's like, okay, I don't like Death Watch anymore. She's not a strictly good character.
Yeah.
She can have bad intentions. She wants power for herself. And so we'll see how they go about it, but it's going to be really interesting. And I agree with you, Chance. I'm glad they kind of took Grogu away so we can focus on rebuilding Mandalore.
Exactly. The show's called The Mandalorian, and the first episode, and, you see this badass Mandalorian just ripping through all these thugs, and then he finds Baby Yoda at the end. And then from that point forth, they've been like attached at the hip. So now we're going back to a just badass Mandalorian fucking shit up. I can't wait to see. Plus, they've been teasing how fucked up Mandalore, the planet's been. The first two seasons, they've been saying it's like haunted. Don't go there. It's like completely fucked up. So now we're gonna go and see what's actually going down. I'm super excited.
Well, so whenever they say it's haunted, I mean, clearly it's not haunted, but it's probably just there's some enemy there that's just ghostly almost. I mean, do you guys have any ideas of what it could be? I mean, is there anything
Well,
that they could pull from?
Have you
they're
have
being
you ever
literally
seen
haunted.
Mandalore yourself, Tyler? Like have you seen from the shows like the planet Mandalore?
Is it like really like not deserty, but like is it kind of like
It's
dead
basically
almost?
barren as fuck because like
Okay.
there's been nothing but war for like thousands of years, like non-stop war, and so like the planet is already fucked in the Clone Wars and Rebels. So I can't imagine what it looks like in the show. So I'm super pumped.
No, I'm excited for season 3. Like I said, I do agree with you guys. Though. I think even though the child's no longer with him, like yeah, it'll definitely grow the Mandalorian. But not only will he be now he's Mandalore again by himself as like a badass, but he's also one that also has like developed more as more
Oh
than
yeah.
just like some Western badass guy, and he has like a crew with him now too, which I think also helps. But I guess in theory also, I mean, like Boba should be leaving him now, right? Because technically they got him the child to safety,
Yeah, I don't know how
right?
much
Yeah,
we'll see Boba in this upcoming season.
Well, he's getting his own show.
Yeah, he's getting his
He
own
may
show.
he may show up.
Yeah,
But
he may make an appearance, but I'm pretty sure they'll focus on him more on his own show, which I'm pumped for.
So
yeah, Book of Boba Fett should be good.
so yeah, it's definitely, and we'll take a look at the list of Disney Plus shows here. But yeah, I definitely can't wait for season 3. I mean, even though the ending pissed just me off, I still can't wait for the next season. So, and I know whenever it comes out, we're all going to be watching it and we're going to be talking about it that day. So it's exciting. I can't wait for it. Great show. But yeah, so let's take a look at some of the list of Disney Plus shows. Like I said, like the week after the Mandalorian season 3 ended, or season 2 ended, they instantly announced a handful of other Star Wars related Disney shows. Obi-Wan Kenobi, he's going to get his own show. Ahsoka's supposed to get her own show. I have here Star Wars Rangers of the New Republic.
Yeah, so that's like focusing on like the X-wing pilots that were featured in the show. I'm pretty sure, and like the
Okay.
chick.
Cara Dune as well.
Yeah.
There's Star Wars The Bad Batch.
So that's
which is-
from the Clone Wars season 7. I don't know if you watched that, but they were like a side episode, kind of like a filler episode in the end of season 7. They're like a
Okay.
genetically modified squad of clones. They kind of have like mutant powers. It's pretty badass.
There's apparently The Acolyte, which is a Star Wars.
So that's
No-
apparently a show about a female Sith Jedi, not a Sith Jedi, but like a Sith warrior, and it takes
It's
place.
Sith Acolyte.
Yeah, takes place like years prior. I believe it's like before Episode 1, like the movie Episode 1. Wait,
Hmm.
It takes place in the High Republic era, which we don't know anything about.
Yeah.
It's like their new. It's the High Republic takes place before the Old Republic, after the Old Republic and before the prequels. I think it's like 200 or 300 years before the prequels. So Yoda's actually alive during this, so we may see him at some point. But it's a brand new era. So So Tyler, this is where you can really go off because they have the potential to do anything with this because
Zero
there's no Skywalkers
Skywalkers.
at this point. There's Yoda, and he'll probably pop up, but there'll be no Skywalkers
True.
Well,
unless they go into like Shmi's great 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 grandfather or whatever. But yeah, so they have a ton of potential with this, a blank slate, so they can do whatever they want with it.
Yep.
yeah, and like that actually sounds like exciting. I will definitely watch that shit because it's something a little bit different and hopefully expands and it's going to be done well. The final show I have here is also a Lando show, so I guess Lando's getting his own show as well.
Yeah, I
Um,
think that the Han Solo movie, I think they just turned that into the Lando show. Like the Han Solo
So
movie.
it's going to be a cartoon.
Oh,
I
is
know
it a
that.
cartoon?
Yeah, it is an animated show. I do not. They haven't confirmed whether it's going to be Donald Glover voicing Lando or if it's going to be Billy D. Williams. It's in early stage of development. We're probably not going to see it for a couple years at least.
well, I think a lot of these shows are pushed out a couple years at least.
Yeah.
I think the Obi-Wan show though. Oh no, but it says to be determined 2022.
I
Damn
can't
it.
wait for that one because
Yeah,
it's gonna have
oh, yeah.
Ewan McGregor and Hayden Christensen, two of the greatest. I mean, Anakin hit or miss with the acting, but like Obi-Wan, perfect actor.
Oh, he made the prequels good.
Yeah.
Like strictly his acting, he is a great Obi-Wan.
Unreal.
He's so good. So I'm super excited. There's a couple other shows, Tyler, that we missed.
I might have scrolled past them. The other one.
I have them up if you want me to
And
say them.
is one Andor? Is that the other one you have?
Yeah. That's one of them. Yeah.
Okay, what else you got,
So
Jim?
that's about Cassian Andor from Rogue One. He was the spy that we meet in like the first scene.
He hangs out with
or
the
one of
robot.
first scenes. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that's going to be directed by the guy who did the Bourne trilogy, which I don't know if you guys ever seen the Bourne trilogy, but it's like a really good spy thriller,
Yeah, my dad loves it.
action spy movies. I really like them, and this show is going to be like a Star Wars spy show, so it could be really interesting.
Gonna be
What else?
the-
What else is there, Jim, on the list?
Then there's I'm actually really excited for this. There's Star Wars Visions, which are short films made by 10 different Japanese anime studios. So it's going to be anime Star Wars, and if any of you guys are anime fans out there, like it could be really cool because we've never had anything close to that, and anime and Star Wars could be neat. So I'm actually really excited about that. That's probably one of my top shows I'm excited for out of this.
Definitely. That's not sick.
And then the next Star Wars movie that's coming out is Rogue Squadron, which is going to be directed by the woman that did Wonder Woman and Wonder Woman 84, which I didn't really like Wonder Woman 84, but the first Wonder Woman was good. And that should be in a couple years.
Yeah, I saw the trailer for that. She was like standing next to an actual fighter jet in that one, Tyler. It wasn't an X-wing. It was a fighter jet.
It was an actual fighter jet. Thank you
It
for
was
the
an actual
clarification.
fighter jet.
What's
if
the
we
difference?
get like Top Gun, but for Star Wars, that'd be pretty sick.
That would be fucking. That would be really insane.
So I think it's like I said. I think it's great that now Disney is definitely exploring more and going more into the different aspects.
Here we go.
What?
Just always back to that.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I mean, they're just covering a bunch of stuff there. That's all.
No, I agree. I'm happy they're expanding more too. Like Jim said, Star Wars is like one of the biggest. Like, they're just so open. Like it's a giant galaxy in space. Like there's so much shit you can add.
Literally, you can think of a planet, and then it probably exists in Star Wars.
Exactly.
Like that's how deep this is. And because like technology is so advanced, like they shoot lasers and stuff. Like that's not abnormal for Star Wars. That's like the standard. So anything you can come up with, you can make a planet for in Star Wars. And you don't even have to come up with a race of people. You just make them humans or whatever, and you're good. Like it's so deep, and that's why I love it. It's so cool.
Deeper and deeper and deeper.
I agree.
Lucas, which one are you excited for? Out of those, is there one that really
Obi-Wan.
tickles your fancy?
Yeah, Obi-Wan. One of my favorite characters in the universe.
I'm really pumped for the Ahsoka Tano show. I think that.
Yeah. Can we talk? Can I give my theory on that?
Yeah,
Yeah,
sure,
go for it,
Jim.
Jim.
Go ahead.
So have you guys seen the logo for Ahsoka?
I have not
No.
seen the logo.
So it's very like spacey, which makes sense for Star Wars, but The O in Ahsoka is very stylized. It's like a symbol. Here, I can post it in the chat so you guys can see it. But for anyone that's seen Star Wars Rebels out there, there's an episode in the last season, A World Between Worlds, where, spoiler alert, Ezra Bridger goes into this world between worlds where he's basically in a time dimension, and he can see in the past and stuff like that, and he eventually pulls Ahsoka into this time dimension. And a lot of like the symbology in this time dimension is very similar to this Ahsoka logo. So she could eventually end up messing with that. I don't know, just a theory.
I mean, that's going to happen for sure. That can't be an accident.
That's exactly what I'm hoping for. I'm hoping that Thrawn pops up and Ezra pops up, and they just bring back all that shit.
Oh man, Thrawn coming back. I would be so excited.
I just want a live action Thrawn. I need it.
So I guess this is from the casual perspective, is Ahsoka like she's not a Jedi, but she's definitely not a Sith, right?
So Ahsoka left the Jedi Order. She basically got accused of being a traitor falsely, and like no one believed her, and she was like deeply like basically horrified by it. And after like they found her innocent, they invited her back to the Jedi, and she like declined and like went off on her own basically for a while. And then like Order 66 happened, and all the Jedi got slaughtered. And she was like off on Mandalore of all places, trying to help capture Darth Maul. And then clones turned, and her and Maul escape. Essentially, this is like the plot to the season 7 of the Clone Wars. She escapes and somehow survives, and then you find her back in what's it called, Rebels. She just pops back up.
Yeah, she's a pretty important piece in Rebels. She fights Darth Vader, who is Anakin Skywalker, and she was Anakin's Padawan, and that's one of the more epic fights in the Star Wars canon. I highly recommend, even if you don't want to watch the show, go watch that fight because it's really good. And yeah, she's great, and I think Rosario Dawson did a really good job with her, so I think the show could be really, really good. And yeah, I don't know, I'm really excited for it.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, I think this is the show I'm most looking forward to out of the whole set. And I actually, before I even knew who played her in the upcoming season of Mandalorian, I literally thought, man, she would be a good person to play that. Just because of the couple other things that I know she's in that I like. Because I know she's in Daredevil. Yeah, Daredevil. I really liked her in that. I know she's in other stuff, but that's just what I know her from. So there's definitely a lot of stuff to look forward to from the Star Wars. Can't wait. Especially because I think they want to just ramp up Disney Plus. That's the main reason behind this, is the money behind Disney Plus. So definitely gives a reason, because currently the only reason to have it is for like the Star Wars and Avengers movies and then Mandalorian. So very excited for the upcoming stuff there. Is there anything you guys want to say before we wrap it up here for today's pod?
I want to thank Jim for hopping on, talking about some Star Wars. Always love chatting with him.
Oh yeah, thank you for having me on. This was a good time. I love being able to nerd out over Star Wars. This is, like I said, it's one of my favorite things ever. And if I get to talk about it on the podcast with my boys, I'm pumped.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Jim, whenever Mandalorian season 3 starts back up, we'll get you back on here. Don't worry.
Okay, that's awesome.
So Jim, thank you for stopping by. Thank you, listeners, for stopping by and listening to us. We will see you on the next one. Like I said, next episode we're going to talk about the upcoming football weekend, give our predictions, stuff like that. So we will talk to you guys then.
Yep. Thank you for listening.
See you.
Peace.